I never thought the man I married would one day look me in the eyes and tell me to sleep in the car like I was nothing. But that's exactly what happened on a cold October night that changed my life forever. My name is Nia, and I'm about to tell you a story that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. A story about betrayal, survival, and how sometimes the people you least expect become your greatest allies. If you've ever felt thrown away by someone you loved, this story is for you. It started on a Tuesday evening. I remember because Tuesdays were always our quiet nights. My husband Ethan would come home from work, I'd make dinner, and we'd watch something together before bed. We'd been married for 5 years, and while our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were solid. I thought I was safe. That night, I came home from work around 7. I was a financial auditor for a mid-sized firm downtown, and I'd had a long day reconciling accounts for a difficult client. All I wanted was a hot shower and maybe some leftover pasta. But when I pulled into our driveway, I noticed Ethan's car was already there, and the lights were on upstairs in our bedroom. I walked through the front door, hung up my coat, and set my purse on the little table in the foyer. The house smelled like lavender, which was strange because I hadn't lit any candles that morning. I called out, "Ethan? Honey, I'm home." No answer. I climbed the stairs, thinking maybe he was in the shower or had his headphones on. But when I reached the top, I heard voices. 2 voices. One was Ethan's. The other was his mother's. Now, let me tell you about Serena Holloway. My mother-in-law was the kind of woman who smiled at you while sharpening a knife behind her back. She was elegant, well-dressed, always in control. She came from old money and never let anyone forget it. From the day Ethan introduced us, she made it clear I wasn't good enough for her son. I was too plain, too middle class, too black. She never said it out loud, but I felt it in every tight-lipped smile, every backhanded compliment. I pushed open the bedroom door and there she was, sitting on my bed like she owned it, going through my jewelry box. "Serena?" I said, confused. "I didn't know you were coming." Ethan didn't mention it. She looked up at me with those cold blue eyes and didn't even have the decency to look embarrassed. "Oh, Nia. You're home. Ethan, dear, tell her." I turned to my husband. He was standing by the window, refusing to look at me. His hands were in his pockets and his jaw was tight. "Tell me what?" I asked, my heart starting to pound. He finally turned around, and the look on his face was one I'd never seen before. Not anger. Not sadness. Just indifference. "Mom's staying with us for a while," he said flatly. "She needs the master bedroom. Her back's been bothering her and she needs the good mattress." I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. "Okay, so she can take the guest room. I'll put fresh sheets on and—" "No," he interrupted. "She's taking our room. You're sleeping somewhere else tonight." The air left my lungs. "Excuse me?" Serena stood up, smoothing down her expensive blouse. "Nia, don't make this difficult. I've had a long trip and I need rest. Surely you can be flexible for one night. Where exactly am I supposed to sleep?" I asked, looking between them. Ethan shrugged. "The couch. Or, the car. The back seats fold down." I stared at him. This man, who had promised to love and cherish me, was telling me to sleep in the car. "You've lost your mind," I whispered. "Don't be dramatic," he snapped. "It's one night. You can handle it." I felt tears burning in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of her. Ethan, it's 32 degrees outside. This is insane. Then don't argue and it won't be a problem, he said coldly. Now, I need you to leave. Mom wants to rest. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of supporting him, cooking for him, building a life with him, and this is what I got? I turned and walked downstairs, my whole body shaking. I grabbed my coat and headed for the front door, but Ethan was right behind me. When I reached for the handle, he pushed me hard. I stumbled forward, lost my balance, and fell. Not just fell, but crashed down the front steps and landed in the mud. It had been raining all day, and the ground was soaking wet. Cold, thick mud soaked through my clothes immediately. I tried to get up, but my hands kept slipping. Ethan! I screamed, looking up at him through the rain that had started to pour. What is wrong with you? He stood on the porch, dry under the awning, and actually wiped his hands on his pants like touching me had dirted him. I told you, he said, his voice cutting through the storm. You're not coming inside. Sleep in the car. I was crying now, the rain mixing with my tears. My whole body was shaking from the cold. Please, I begged. Please don't do this. He turned and walked back inside. And then he locked the door. I heard the deadbolt click. Then the second lock, the one we only used when we went on vacation. I pounded on the door with both fists, screaming his name, but he didn't come back. Instead, a light turned on upstairs in our bedroom. I looked up and saw Serena's silhouette in the window. She was watching me. And she was smiling. I don't know how long I stood there in the rain, pounding on that door. Eventually, my voice gave out and my hands hurt too much to keep hitting the wood. I turned and ran to my car, parked near the garage. I just needed to get inside, turn on the heat, dry off. But when I pulled the handle, it was locked. My keys. My keys were in my purse, which was inside the house. I started to panic. Real, animal panic. I was freezing. My teeth were chattering so hard I thought they might break. And then the car lights flashed. I looked up and saw Ethan in the upstairs window, holding my car remote. He pressed the lock button again, staring right at me. Ethan, please. I screamed. I'm going to freeze to death out here. He closed the curtain. I collapsed against the car and slid down into a puddle. I pulled my knees to my chest and wrapped my arms around myself, trying to stay warm. The rain turned to sleet. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. I couldn't feel my face. I thought about the neighbors. Surely someone would see me, someone would help. But this was a gated community, and everyone here minded their own business. Tomorrow, they'd all know. Tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would be whispering about how Ethan Holloway's wife got thrown out like garbage. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes. Maybe an hour. Time stopped meaning anything. All I knew was the cold, the wet, and the absolute certainty that my life as I knew it was over. And then, headlights cut through the darkness. A black SUV came speeding down the street, going way too fast. It didn't slow down for the puddle near me and sent a wave of muddy water crashing against the fence. The vehicle braked hard, stopping just inches from where I was sitting. The driver's door flew open, and a man stepped out into the rain. It was Marcus Holloway, my father-in-law. Marcus was nothing like his son. He was a man who commanded respect the moment he walked into a room. A successful attorney, tall and broad-shouldered even in his 60s, with silver hair and eyes that could see right through you. He'd always been kind to me, but distant. Busy. I rarely saw him because he worked constantly and traveled for cases. But now he was here, standing in the rain, staring at me in the mud. His expensive coat was getting soaked, but he didn't seem to notice. Nia? His voice was rough with shock and anger. I couldn't speak. I just looked up at him, shivering. He looked at the house, at the lit windows, and I saw his jaw clench. Then he stepped into the mud, ruining his shoes, and bent down. He grabbed me under the arms and pulled me to my feet. Dad! Ethan's voice came from above. He'd opened the window again. Dad, don't listen to her. She's being dramatic. Mom just needed some space and... Marcus didn't even look at his son. He kept his eyes on me, his hands steady on my shoulders. Can you walk? He asked quietly. I nodded. He guided me toward his SUV and opened the passenger door. The inside was warm and smelled like leather and tobacco. Safe. He helped me inside, then walked around and got behind the wheel. Finally, he looked up at the house. At his son standing in the window. I was driving here to file for divorce from your mother, Marcus said, his voice booming like thunder. Every word was clear, powerful, final. But now I have a new goal. He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Determination. Fury. Protection. I will be your wife's lawyer, he said. Get in the car, honey. We're going to leave them destitute through the courts. He slammed the door and started the engine. The SUV shot forward, spitting gravel. I looked back and saw Ethan's face in the window, pale with shock. For several minutes, we drove in silence. I was still shaking, and water dripped from my clothes onto the floor mat. Marcus drove with one hand while pulling out his phone with the other. Northside Private Medical Center, he said into the phone. Emergency. I have a passenger with hypothermia. Prepare a room. Yes, I'm paying. He hung up and glanced at me. In the dashboard light, his face looked carved from stone. Marcus, I managed to say through chattering teeth. Why are you here? You were supposed to be on a business trip. I wasn't on a business trip, Nia, he said, his voice hard. I didn't just show up at my son's house tonight by accident. He gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. This morning, I was checking my accounts. I'm paranoid, always have been. I check every transaction, every day. And I found something. A transfer for $200,000 that my wife tried to hide. My brain was struggling to keep up. Serena? But she said she was going to New York for a business seminar. That's what she told me, Marcus said bitterly. But the money didn't go to New York. It went to St. Jude's private maternity wing. Right here in the city. Payment for a VIP suite. I stopped shivering. The words cut through the fog in my head. She got sick? I asked. Marcus laughed, but it was a terrible sound. No, honey. She didn't get sick. I called the hospital administrator, threatened them with an investigation, and they told me who my wife had been visiting all these days. He turned to look at me, and in his eyes I saw pain mixed with rage. Ethan has a mistress, Nia. And Serena knew about it for months. She paid for the birth with my money. This morning, your husband had a son. A boy I was never supposed to know about. The words should have destroyed me. Should have shattered whatever was left of my heart. But instead, they did something else. They made me angry. Not sad. Not heartbroken. Angry. Because suddenly everything made sense. The way Ethan had been distant for months. The secret phone calls. The way Serena had been smiling at me, like she knew something I didn't. They had betrayed me. Both of them. And they thought I was too stupid or too weak to do anything about it. I stopped trembling. My tears dried up, leaving salt tracks on my cheeks. Inside me, something switched on. The heartbroken wife disappeared. The auditor woke up. "Take me to your place, Marcus," I said. My voice was rough but steady. "I need a computer and internet. Right now." Marcus looked at me, and something like approval flickered in his eyes. He nodded once and pressed the gas pedal harder. 40 minutes later, we pulled into the underground parking of a downtown high-rise. Marcus' penthouse was on the top floor, sleek and modern, nothing like the cluttered antique-filled house I'd shared with Ethan. I didn't even take off my wet clothes. I walked straight into his office, sat down at his desk, and turned on the computer. "Password?" Marcus asked, standing behind me. "I don't need your passwords," I said, my fingers already flying over the keyboard. "I need Ethan's. And he's an idiot. He uses the same password for everything." I typed in Serena's birthday. 6 digits. The system paused, then let me in. The entire financial life of the Holloway family opened up before me. Joint accounts. Credit cards. Savings. Investments. Everything. Ethan, in his arrogance, hadn't even bothered to change the access codes after throwing me out. He thought I was too broken, too destroyed to fight back. He was wrong. "What are you looking for?" Marcus asked. "I'm not looking," I said quietly. "I'm acting." I logged into the online banking system and found the main family account. Serena's platinum card was linked to it. Unlimited spending. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. "Marital property law," I said out loud, mostly to myself. "Assets acquired during the marriage are considered communal. Until a court rules otherwise, I have every right to manage this money. The same right he does." I didn't withdraw anything. That would look like theft. But what I did was far more effective. I opened the security settings. Card blocked due to suspected data compromise. Click. Accounts frozen until owner's identity can be verified at a bank branch. Click. Daily ATM withdrawal limit set to 0. Click. The screen flashed green. Changes saved. I leaned back in the chair and took a deep breath. "Sleep tight, Serena," I whispered. "Tomorrow morning is going to be very rough for you." Marcus was staring at me with something like awe. "You just froze them out," he said slowly. "I just protected community property," I corrected. "Until the divorce is final, that money is mine as much as it's his. And if they want to play dirty, I'll show them what dirty really looks like." For the first time since I'd fallen in the mud, I felt warm. Not from the heater in Marcus' penthouse, but from the fire burning inside me. They had thrown me out like trash. They had humiliated me, betrayed me, tried to break me. But I wasn't broken. I was just getting started. The next morning didn't start with coffee and pleasantries. It started with chaos. I woke up on Marcus' leather couch around 6 a.m., my whole body aching from the cold I'd endured the night before. Marcus had given me dry clothes, some old sweats that were too big, and a thick blanket. He'd stayed up with me until midnight, making sure I was okay, before retreating to his own room. Now, as dawn light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, my phone rang. Not my regular phone, the one that was still inside the house. This was the backup flip phone I kept in my car for emergencies, which Marcus had retrieved for me. The number was unknown, but I answered anyway. "You vindictive witch." Serena's voice screeched through the speaker so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "What did you do to my accounts?" I smiled. "Good morning to you too, Serena." "Don't play games with me," she hissed. "My cards aren't working. None of them. I'm standing in the middle of a store like a fool, and everyone is staring at me. Fix this right now." "I can't fix what isn't broken," I said calmly. "The accounts are frozen for security purposes. Standard procedure when suspicious activity is detected. You'll need to go to the bank in person to verify your identity." "You know damn well I can't do that today. I have appointments, meetings." "Then I guess you'll have to reschedule," I interrupted. "Or maybe ask your son for help." "Oh wait, his accounts are frozen too. What a shame." The line went silent for a moment. Then Serena's voice came back, lower and more dangerous. "You have no idea what you've started," she said. "You're messing with the wrong family, little girl." "No, Serena," I said quietly. "You messed with the wrong woman. And now you're going to find out exactly what that means." I hung up. Marcus appeared in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. He was already dressed in a suit, looking every bit the powerful attorney he was. "I heard," he said, handing me a cup. "She's going to retaliate. You know that, right?" "Let her try," I said. "I'm ready." And I was. Because last night, while I'd been freezing in that rain, something inside me had changed. The woman who wanted to please everyone, who tried to keep the peace, who swallowed her pride to make her husband happy, that woman was gone. In her place was someone harder. Someone who wouldn't back down. Marcus sat down across from me. "I meant what I said last night. I'm filing for divorce from Serena, and I want you to help me. You're an auditor. You know how to find hidden money. And I know my wife has been hiding money for years. Tell me everything," I said, setting down my coffee and pulling out a notepad. Over the next hour, Marcus explained his suspicions. Serena came from money, but not as much as she pretended. Over the years, she'd developed expensive tastes, designer clothes, luxury vacations, jewelry. But Marcus had always been careful with his finances. He'd given her an allowance, a generous one, but there were limits. Except the limits didn't seem to apply. Serena always had money for whatever she wanted. And when Marcus questioned her, she'd get defensive or change the subject. "I think she's been siphoning money from my business accounts," Marcus said. "Moving it somewhere I can't see. But I've never been able to prove it." "Give me access to your accounts," I said. "All of them. Business, personal, everything. Let me do what I do best." He did. And what I found over the next 3 days made my blood run cold. I set up my war room in Marcus' office. Papers covered every surface. I had spreadsheets open on 2 monitors, tracking money flows going back 10 years. I barely slept, surviving on coffee and takeout food that Marcus ordered for me. And slowly, a pattern emerged. Every month, like clockwork, money disappeared from Marcus' accounts. Small amounts at first, a few thousand here and there. But over time, it grew. 10,000. 50,000. Sometimes more. The transactions were coded as consulting fees, or legal research, or other legitimate business expenses. But when I dug deeper, I found that these payments were going to a shell company called Vector LLC. And Vector LLC didn't provide any actual services. It was just a front. I traced the company registration. The founder was listed as someone named Yvette Rybakova. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Yvette Hayes. My college roommate. My best friend from sophomore year. We'd been close once, sharing dreams about our futures, promising we'd never lose touch. But 5 years ago, she'd moved away, said she was going to New York to start a business. We'd drifted apart after that. And now I knew why. Marcus, I called out. He'd been working in the next room, preparing divorce papers. He came in immediately. I found it, I said. The shell company. It's run by someone I know. Someone I used to trust. His eyes narrowed. Who? Her name is Yvette. She was my friend. And apparently, she's been helping your wife steal from you for years. Marcus leaned against the desk. Can you find her? I already have, I said, pointing to the registration documents. She listed her address. It's on the south side. Then let's pay her a visit, Marcus said grimly. An hour later, we pulled up to a rundown apartment building in a neighborhood that had seen better days. The elevator was broken, so we climbed 5 flights of stairs. The hallway smelled like mildew and cigarettes. I knocked on apartment 507. Footsteps approached. A chain rattled. Then the door cracked open, and Yvette's face appeared. She looked terrible. The bright, ambitious girl I remembered was gone. In her place was a tired woman with dark circles under her eyes and unwashed hair. Nia, she whispered, her eyes going wide. How did you? Open the door, Yvette, I said firmly. We need to talk about Vector LLC. Her face went pale, but she stepped back and let us in. The apartment was small and cluttered. Empty wine bottles sat on the kitchen counter. Boxes were stacked against the walls. I knew you'd come eventually, Yvette said quietly, not meeting my eyes. Serena said you were too stupid to figure it out. But I told her you'd always been smart. Then you know why I'm here, I said. Tell me everything. How long have you been helping her steal? Yvette lit a cigarette with shaking hands and sank into a worn-out chair. 5 years, she admitted. I lost my first business, got into debt. Bad debt, the kind where people come looking for you. Serena found me. She offered to pay off everything if I helped her. Helped her do what? Marcus asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Move money, Yvette said, staring at the floor. Hide assets. She didn't trust that you'd stay with her forever, Marcus. She wanted insurance. A safety net made of your money, hidden where you'd never find it. How much? I demanded. Millions, Yvette whispered. Over the years, maybe 20 or 30 million. It's all in real estate, stocks, offshore accounts. Everything is registered to Vector, and Vector belongs to me on paper. But Serena has full power of attorney. She controls everything. I'm just a puppet. The room spun. $20 million. Stolen over a decade, right under Marcus' nose. Where are the documents? Marcus asked. Yvette pointed toward the bedroom. She looked at me with hope in her eyes for the first time. Will you really help me? She whispered. I promise, I said. We're going to destroy them. Together. She took a shaky breath and began to speak. My name is Chloe Jenkins. I'm being held at Montalto Pines Retreat against my will. My son was kidnapped by Serena Holloway and Ethan Holloway. I listened to her story, and with every word, my resolve hardened. When she finished, I squeezed her hand. Stay here, I said. Don't sign anything. I'm coming back with the police. I swear to you, this ends today. I slipped back out of the room, past the guard, and out of the building. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From fury. I had my evidence. I had my witness. Now I just needed to bring them down. And this time, there would be no mercy. If this story touched your heart and you want to hear how Nia finally brought justice and reclaimed her life, don't forget to subscribe. Because the final chapter of this story is one you won't want to miss, and I promise you, the ending will leave you speechless.